Ever wonder what separates those incredible cloud-like mashed potatoes from a gluey, sticky mess? Well, I'll tell you, it's not luck. It's all about technique. And in this explainer, we're going to break down the science and the exact steps to get you that perfect, fluffy result every single time.
So, what even causes that gluey texture? It all comes down to starch. When you get too aggressive with potatoes, their little starch cells burst open, releasing all this sticky starch. That's what creates that thick, paste-like consistency. But don't worry, we're going to show you exactly how to avoid that.
And here's the great news. Once you get a handle on the variables, like which potato to use, how to cook it, and the right way to mash, you can make light, fluffy mashed potatoes on repeat. It's totally doable, so let's get into it.
All right, first things first, the prep. Getting these initial steps right is absolutely critical because it really does set the foundation for everything that comes after.
Okay, let's gather our ingredients. We're using Yukon Gold potatoes, and here's why. They have this perfect medium starch content that gives you the best of both worlds, fluffy and creamy. And notice the butter and milk are warm. That's really important for making sure they mix in smoothly later.
Next, let's talk tools. You don't need anything fancy, just a big pot for even boiling. But for mashing, you absolutely have to use a potato masher or a ricer. These guys are gentle. Whatever you do, stay away from blenders or food processors. We'll get to why in a bit.
First step in the actual process, peel those potatoes and cut them into uniform 2-inch chunks. Making sure the pieces are all about the same size is your best defense against having hard, undercooked lumps in your final mash. It means everything cooks at the same rate. Okay, potatoes are prepped. Now we move on to the cooking phase. And trust me, the way you boil your potatoes has a huge impact on their final texture and how they'll mash up.
So here's what you do. Put the cut potatoes into your pot and cover them with cold, salted water. Starting them in cold water is a pro move. It lets them heat up gradually so the inside gets just as cooked as the outside. You want the water to cover them by about an inch. Go ahead and bring that water to a boil and then knock the heat back to a simmer. You're looking at about 20 minutes of cook time. But listen, that's just a guideline. The clock isn't what tells you they're done. The texture of the potato is.
And here's how you check. Grab a small knife and poke it into the center of a potato piece. It's perfect when that knife slides in and out with zero resistance, almost like cutting through soft butter. That's the sign that the starch granules are perfectly softened and ready to go.
All right, pay close attention because this next phase is what makes or breaks your mashed potatoes. Getting the moisture out and using the right mashing technique, this is probably the most important part of the whole process. The second those potatoes are done, drain them in a colander. And I mean drain them really well. You want to get as much water off as possible. Any water left behind is just going to give you a soupy mash and keep the butter and milk from being absorbed properly.
Now for a step that is an absolute game changer. Tip those drained potatoes right back into the hot empty pot and put it over low heat. Now just shake the pot gently for a minute or two. This little trick steams off all that extra moisture. You'll know it's done when the potatoes start to look a little dry and chalky on the outside.
So, before you start mashing, let's address that common mistake. Do not, I repeat, do not use a blender or a food processor. Those high-speed blades will just shred the potato's starch cells, unleashing a flood of sticky starch that turns into glue. You want to gently break the potatoes apart with a masher or a ricer.
All right, if you remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this: fat first, liquid second. The order you add your ingredients in is actually based on science, and it's essential for getting that creamy, not gummy, texture.
So, here's the procedure. Exactly. First, start mashing the potatoes while they're still nice and hot. Second, add your warm butter. Keep mashing until it's all mixed in. What happens is, the fat coats the starch molecules, which stops them from getting gummy. The potatoes should start to look a little glossy. Third, slowly pour in that warm milk as you mix, until they're just as creamy as you like.
And again, always use warm milk. If you pour in cold liquid, it's just going to shock the potatoes. The starches will seize up and you'll end up with a dense, heavy mash. Warm milk gets absorbed so much more easily and keeps everything light and fluffy.
We are so close. The process is almost done. These last couple of steps are just for seasoning and making sure we nailed it.
The very last thing you'll do is season. You want to add your salt only after the butter and milk are totally mixed in. Why? Because now the final volume and texture are set, so you can taste and add just the right amount of salt for a perfect, balanced flavor.
And now for the final check. Take a look at your finished potatoes. The perfect texture is light and fluffy. They should be able to hold their shape on a spoon, but they shouldn't look dense or heavy or sticky at all. If that's what you've got, you did it. Your technique was a success.
So, there you have it. A perfect result, all because we understood a little bit about starch, temperature, and moisture. It just goes to show you that mastering a recipe isn't about luck, it's about mastering the technique. And that's a principle you can use to transform just about any simple dish you make.